Welcome to our first ever Top 20 Video Game Cover Art show as selected by you, not Chris. This show is produced by Symphony, Claudio, Lena, Rudy, Prince, Steve, and Chris. I'm your host, Matthew Falvey. You are listening to Katamari on the Rocks. A suitable song for the eclectic good, bad, and weird that's been assembled here for you. Well, let's get to our very first selection. This first one is chosen by Symphony. It is from Romancing Saga 3. From the series of actual good box arts, Symphony says, to me this looks like a gorgeous, detailed Asian tapestry with a very striking magical font. I like the white glowing background behind it. I mean, I'd put this up in my dining room. What do you guys think? From the Super Nintendo era, I think there was more of a trend back then to do elaborate hand-drawn art because the game graphics were so limited. I mean, when you think of a box of Final Fantasy, it makes it sound like cereal, which would be good. Think of a nice box of Final Fantasy VI and the beautiful art that they always have in that franchise, and then the actual game, they're just these tiny little sprites, and all they can do is look at the camera and go. A beautiful one to set off us with a little bit of class. That's right, a little bit of class. For once. Our next one is chosen by Claudio from Bust-A-Move 2, the arcade edition. Claudio says, you guys played Bust-A-Move 2? That game where you control two dinosaurs and break colorful bubbles and spheres. Well, look at the cover they have for that. So addictive it should be illegal. We have a disturbing looking man, even without what's going on. It's like he looks like sort of a weird cousin in the Addams Family, or like a evil scientist's assistant with matchsticks jammed into his eyes. His face is so distorted, and there's multiple copies of him in this ball. There is, like Claudio was saying, there is no actual tone of what the actual game is. But this was the 90s, and it was it was an extreme time, you know. They really wanted things to be kind of like wild and zany, and PlayStation pushed this a lot too with the really funny commercials like the Jet Moto commercials and Crash Bandicoot. And yeah, like Chris says, for kids, so addictive it should be legal. Listen to this music and this cover. Hey kids, this is a lot like, you know, that crack cocaine you've heard about. This is the original? Oh my god. Like, what the hell is going on? We're gonna do some weird purple cum shot on this baby's head. And it's blowing this disgusting bubble. Acclaim. Yeah, it's on PS2, but it just says Super Bust-A-Move. So as far as anyone knows that goes way back to the PS2 era, they think that was it. It's not just going to be all silly stuff. There's going to be some serious stuff, too. Real serious. This next one, chosen by Lena. This is a picture of the Final Fantasy X Steelbook, which I think Lena took a photo of this himself. So we're not getting a copyright strike on this. We probably will. Leonard says, beautiful hand-drawn art by the series logo designer Yoshitaka Amano. The Final Fantasy X side shows off the vibe and feel of the game extremely well. A beautiful journey that can't help but shake its melancholy and existential sadness. The water in the illustration also acts beautifully as a thematic part of the game. It could also symbolize Yuna fighting Sin. Meanwhile, the Final Fantasy X-2 side shows off the rebirth of Spira and Yuna really nicely. It's colorful, it's alive, hopeful in a way, even if Yuna's expression is still one of sadness. I love how it just looks like a pencil drawing. And then the left one looks like watercolors. You know, watercolor, Spira, all that stuff. Our next one, chosen by Rudy, from Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. This is the Japanese cover. There it is. Boy, that's beautiful. Rudy couldn't find the actual box art in high quality, so he posted the artwork itself, made by Tatsuya Yoshikawa. He actually made most of the art for the series. Actually, it was only in the first one. I really like that in Dragon Quarter he managed to keep a familiar look from the previous games while going crazy on the color. Yeah. You have pretty much all the important characters in the story present in the cover with great layout, and there's a neat touch that the main character's trying to reach the sky, which is his objective in the game. The color really is beautiful. He's sort of ahead of the crazy HDR trend that we have now. I love how many layers there are. I like that creepy girl up on the top right. The way you can have all these greens and blues and reds and yellows working together. That's pretty gorgeous. They're all a bit expressionless. I guess it's not a very emotional game. Our next one is chosen by Prince. This is from 2 Crude Dudes. Look at these guys. Prince says this type of box art, whether or not it was intended to be, is a form of positive representation of a queer subculture. Positive in the sense that other queer subcultures that were more feminine, such as drag and the ballroom scene, were actively demonized, whereas these types of characters were looked up to as aspirational figures. This is likely in part because the general public was not aware of the connection to gay culture. The hyper-masculine aesthetic of gay leather culture got popular because of movies of the post-apocalyptic setting at the time, Mad Max. This aesthetic then bled into various other forms of media where at the same time, people did not know it was related to gay culture. This led to an era of many, likely unintended, queer-coded characters that gay people could see and find themselves in. Oh, for sure, we were talking about this yesterday, I guess when we were looking at different covers in our top 20 show. Maybe that was on Wednesday. But I mean, a lot of stuff that I grew up with, you know, WWF wrestling, video games of this time, it was all about big sweaty guys just showing off muscles, oiled up, just covered in fluid. They really thought they were clever with this too. There was a Japanese game, I believe, at the time called Two Bad Dudes, and you were wondering if they were bad enough to save the president. Here were the 2 Crude Dudes. This game is a little like, the sprites were a lot bigger because Two Bad Dudes was on the NES. This is on Genesis. It was a funny little game. I gave it a rent. I like this the old Sega Genesis. The way they would. First off, that's that Mega Drive silver logo at the top is incredibly 80s for a 90s system, and then the black with the white graph below was sort of like the 1980s idea of technology and the internet. It's like hilariously outdated. And where are these guys? It's like they're in some kind of demonic fantasy land. When I played this, you were just hanging out in the streets, getting oiled up. Oh yeah, very Duke Nukem. Yeah, it's trying to do a post-apocalyptic thing, but yeah, it doesn't. I think it just takes place in Cincinnati. Our next, I was gonna say track. I'm so used to doing the music show. Our next piece here is chosen by Steve from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So shiny and smooth. Steve says this box art of Alucard readying his sword is simply beautifully drawn. The European box I have to show for comparison. Now the North American one that I remember is just a castle that's all sort of black and silhouetted with a very blue, like a twilight blue background and lightning hitting it. Now as we can see above, here's the Saturn version. A lot more detail, a lot more characters, a lot more going on. that really fine detail pencil and line drawing style. Very gothic. Yeah, gothic is a great way to describe it. I love when the CDs look like this, when you had the game branding on the left side, this side, and it was more of a perfect square. I was looking at PS4 cases, and I think they're so ugly, the way they're like vertical, and they have that gross big blue PS4 thing on the top. I think it just looks so bloody cheap. There's the North American one. I think it's pretty effective. I think it. If you were trying to sell this to, you know, like a North American audience that knew Castlevania from, say, the NES, it doesn't sell just how beautiful the game is going to be, though. I mean, yeah, the gold is really nice, but then you've got this, which is so nice. Oh my god. Oh, good lord. Because the whole selling point of Symphony of the Night was that it was incredibly gorgeous, detailed drawings. When the trend at the time was make everything three-dimensional, even if you didn't quite have the power to make it look great, this stuff looks so damn good. Well, it wouldn't be a look at video game box art if we didn't do a bit of shitposting. This is Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys on the PS2. Now, when you remember what I was saying about how Symphony of the Night bucked the trend of going 3D? Just because you can go 3D, should you go 3D? Look at this. Not cutting edge graphics. These are graphics. We got 4 dwarves there. They don't need to put the rest in. Probably the nicest looking thing is that lantern he's holding. Snow White setting a really bad standard for bodies with her thin arm. And this demonic evil witch behind them. At least she looks evil. What's the deal? Why is it the Seven Clever Boys anyway? Were they trying to avoid... Is this a parody or something? The boys in the game look nothing like the dwarves there. Well, yeah, because they're not the 7 dwarves. But Snow White must be in the public domain at this point. I don't know what the hell's going on. They look like mannequins that had come to life but had become self-aware, and you were now realizing maybe we shouldn't have been playing God. Maybe we should have let them stay mannequins. This was a terrible move. Alright, this next one is not a shitpost, but it's a little odd. This is from Mega Man 2, when he was a real Mega Man. Claudio says, we can't do this without Mega Man covers. We could have so many of them, but I chose Mega Man 2, since I love the music much more in this than Mega Man 1. I'm including both North American and European box arts, both horrible enough that it became kind of a cult classic. Years later, when Capcom made Mega Man 9 and 10, they went back to their roots and they purposely made some awful-looking box covers as an homage. Yeah, there's a little goblin just ahead. Out in the mountain. Maybe they're like, we don't know how to blend that in. Just put it really far away. You know, I do kind of like the European one a bit more. Because it's got that sort of 70s, 80s vintage sci-fi art to it. The European, sorry, the North American one on the left is very... Why does it seal so bravely default below? I don't know if that's supposed to be there. He's just so round and gooey looking. And he's holding a gun. It's sort of like this is him before he became Mega Man. He just used to be a guy with a gun, and then a horrible accident happened. And the gun fused to his arm. So now he has to spend his life with one hand, constantly shooting everything. When he held his first girlfriend's hand, he blew her arm off, left a bloody stump. But at least the wound was immediately cauterized by the hot laser. Yeah, he has the pistol and the Mega Man gun. They just threw them both together. These are actually phenomenal. These are beautiful. I mean, he does look a bit like a little monkey boy on the left. Capcom, USA. I love that big red behind the 3. Look how scared Dr. Wily is. They're going to fuck him up in this world that he's created. What does that say? Mr. Paolo Function? Meet Pavat Function! What's that? Are you ready for some state-of-the-art, high-resolution graphics? There's that friggin' grid again. Oh my god. This is a nightmare. 1 megabit memory. I love when technology brags about stuff from so long ago. He looks like a crab. And why is he all yellow? And where is he? It's sort of got like an Egyptian feel to it. This is so psychedelic. Ugh. And yeah, the realistic pistol. It's not. That doesn't even look like a space pistol. That just looks like a Beretta. It looks like a 9mm. All right, this one is chosen by Leonard. It is from Silent Hill 2. Leonard says, a truly haunting cover art that shows off the themes and the feel of Silent Hill 2 perfectly. One seemingly lifeless side of Angela's face behind a heavy layer of grime and dust, which undoubtedly symbolizes her inner turmoil. Personally, I feel like the cover depicting Angela is a great choice on a deeper level too, since the game heavily focuses on James' sexual tension, symbolizing a broken down, weak woman. Seems like the smart choice. It could also be drawing parallels to James' dead wife, Mary. I love the heavy use of green, the way everything is sort of like faded in and out where it feels like it's a dream. It's suggesting that nothing is real. Yeah, she looks ghostly, half there. Looks like him too, actually, sort of androgynous, or a blending of them, both. The way the font of the title is also fading in and out. And it looks like a photograph, sort of like a dark photograph that was taken, or... Yeah! On the same page there, buddy boy. Well, this next one is chosen by Rudy. It is Guardians Crusade. Yeah, it's a big one. Night and Baby. Rudy can't say much about this game, but the box art is very unique with the almost clay-like look, plus the fact that you can count multiple mini-stories, which is something that probably happens to some extent in the game. Love the one in the bottom right, almost looks like the dragon thing is puking a rainbow. Yeah, it does have, it sort of looks like something Nintendo would do nowadays. Some really friendly looking creatures, but they also look really, especially this big yellow guy here on the right, over my face. Yeah, this is a very Japanese one, the way that they're not afraid to saturate it with a lot of colors and a lot of story, and everybody looking a little kind of screwed up or high. Why would the dragon be puking a rainbow? Why? There's a lot of texture there, though, which makes me think of Yoshi's Woolly World, Kirby's Magic Yarn, Mario's normal suitcase. Our next one is chosen by Prince. This is Chowaniki. Prince says Chowaniki is one of the earliest examples of positive gay representation in video games and celebrates the male form in a high camp experience. The cover art fully captures this concept. Yeah, it loves the male body. In a weird way where these guys are almost... It's like they're just dying. I mean, the ones on the top are very, 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 very camp. And then the one in the middle, too, is just like a nice, big, cheesy smile. They're sort of, and then of course you got the part that's sort of hidden behind it, in plain sight, is that big blue. I guess that's the player. You get to be in their skull, bursting out with this little bit of white drippage by the skull hole. And then green electricity everywhere. And look at the electricity coming down to this left guy's crotch. But the guy on the top left has some sort of a metal wristband, and so does the one on the bottom left, which to me symbolizes like they are trapped, you know? Very political. Our next one, chosen by Steve. This is Dragon Dogma Dark Arisen. Probably our most down-to-earth cover art we've shown so far, which is saying a lot since that looks to be about a 200-foot winged dragon demon and a bunch of fantasy characters. But very serious, more Western... Yeah, generic fantasy where you don't see the characters' faces. I guess they're probably trying to get across the idea that you're going to be the one putting the personality into it. The characters are a blank canvas. It's like a D&D game. Even the villain doesn't have a face. I've heard so many good things about Dragon's Dogma, and the perspective is off with the archer dude. How so? He's aiming the wrong way. Yeah, I've heard that the ending is quite surprising, that I won't spoil, but I've heard it's pretty cool. Steve says, this Dark Arisen version of Dragon's Dogma simply gives me the thrill, especially seeing the menacing look of this boss from the team perspective. It really gives him a thrill. A thrill?
What a thrill.
Alright, how about a little more shitposting? Shall we? Carnage. This is from Cyclone in the So Bad It's Good category. This is so 90s, even though the Game Boy Advance, I think, was probably, what, closer to the end of the 90s, maybe the 2000s? Car, spelled with a K, and two A's, and a J. This horrific picture of a man. This is a very bad expression he has. He's wearing some kind of orange throw pillow, orange blanket with way too much on this side. And it's like they decided in post, make his hair blue. The R is blue. And it looks stupid with just blue hair, so make his eyebrows blue. And then kind of make it look like he has makeup on. It actually looks like he's in drag with the contours of the makeup. The game's actually surprisingly good. Yeah, and that hot pink blurred car. The car is going fast. It looks like the car is going fast backwards. It looks like it's wanting to get the hell out of this photo shoot. This to me just seems like they didn't know what to do. The background is nice, and the car is kind of interesting, but this guy's got to go. All right, let's cleanse ourselves of that shitpost. It's Final Fantasy VI/3. Chosen by Claudio. The Japanese box cover on top, the image of a woman in a red bright dress on top of a grim-looking machine looking at a fantastical city. All three elements that clash between each other but somehow make me realize that this is what Final Fantasy is about. A fantasy about alien races and civilizations, but at the same time about human feelings and emotion. The mono art is always a treat for the eyes and the mind. The North American box art below to see how boring we got it. And they use sort of a more squished version of the well, they actually cut off a lot of it. There's more art on that top piece, but it's mostly just extensions of everything else. But it does give more of a scale. Like the cities are a lot bigger. Yeah, the one on the bottom definitely makes me feel like, oh, I'm going to play a cozy little Final Fantasy game, and I'm just going to go around and level things up and find new things and secrets and talk to characters and go through towns. And I like how it's sort of, I guess in the North American one, what is it, like a ripped up flag maybe? But it kind of looks like some kind of a winged creature. And a very generic bing, shine wherever that scepter is going or that sword. But it does make it pop, and it's nicely centered. But yeah, the top one, you could just look at that for so long. And Terra almost disappears into the background. I like that airship as well. It looks so good. It's no Carnage Rally. Hey, this next one is chosen by Lenot. It is Kingdom Hearts 3. Here's that ugly PS4 box I was talking about. Doesn't that just look gross? Doesn't it look like something really cheap is there? Lenot says, just a good piece of art in general. The composition is really impressive, having Nomura fit all of the main important cast of the game, which has expanded drastically throughout the years, while also managing to show off a beautiful backdrop of what looks to be quadratum, hinting at the future of the series. The sky is also extremely pretty. The sky is nice. The artwork is nice. Look at all these characters just sitting around. Doesn't that look like a really boring game? Doesn't that look like a really boring game that's probably going to have pretty graphics and a big cast of characters you know, who don't know what the hell they're doing, and all they can do is look up to the sky because there are no answers on the ground with what they're doing in this game. The plot makes about as much sense as reading a bunch of horoscopes one after another and calling it a deep novel. Our next one is chosen by Rudy. This is Shadow of the Beast 2 on the Amiga. Yeah, that's some nice synth. Now this is some beautiful old 70s sci-fi painting. That's gorgeous. Rudy says, made by the company Psygnosis, RIP. In the early years of the company, they hired the artist Roger Dean, known for making rock album covers for bands like Yes. From what I saw from his work, a lot seems very out of this world. Most like the box art. There's a really nice contrast between the red-orange colors with the greenish sky. The box art seems slightly cut below in the black area. The name Psygnosis is written in white. It's really beautiful. The shading. Yeah, all his stuff always feels like you're in a totally different planet. I love those flying insect things. I mean, even the rock formations seem to be the way they're sort of curved, as if they were made that way by a different god than ours, by a different sort of nature than ours. We got another Prince pick. This is Renegade. Prince says he absolutely loves the middle guy's outfit. It's very stylish and reminiscent of gay leather culture and something that people still wear today. The woman on the left is giving him 2010 drag fierceness. The hose-down boots. He's obsessed. The art style is something you really don't see much anymore, and you think it's a real shame. To me, it looks like late 80s, 90s American comics. It looks like something I saw in Shadowrun D&D books back then. It's another one that is influenced by Mad Max, with the girl on the left really looking like Tina Turner, especially her character in Mad Max, 2 or Beyond Thunderdome? I like that they wanted something badass, so they did a drawing of a skull and crossbones, and then somebody said, but make it look a little bit crude, but also talented, and then write fear in bubble letters above it, like a 8-year-old child would draw on their notebook. The hero looks like he's on a lot of cocaine, and he's fighting these guys in very ill-fitting shirts. Look like a bunch of chumps. Look at all the graffiti on the subway. Same series also did the River City Ransom game. Alright, so these are their archaeological bones. Well, if you recognize the song, that's because our next one is Tales of Destiny. Chosen by Steve. The box art is Tales of Destiny, the Director's Cut Collector's Edition, and it's one of my favorite cover arts from the Tales of series. I love the details and Stan and Leon and the background behind them. I like all the whiteness behind it. It gives it a soft elegance that matches their clothes and his hair. He looks a lot like Noctis. Not Noctis. He looks like Squall. Though he's got sort of the boring hair in the back and then foot. I like her androgynous look too. She's got this big butt head up at the front. Kind of a square jaw. The blonde guy, I was gonna say this girl looks a bit masculine. Looks both. Big giant hand below. It's interesting how the white cover comes all the way up to the middle, almost like a rising tide or something. And there's all this white glow below. It looks really beautiful. And I like that the branding isn't all over the place. Our next choice is by Lenot. Eco. Lenot says, perfect depiction and representation of the game at large. A lonely, almost silent journey in an almost inhuman place with a fascinating architecture. The tiny size of the boy and the princess contrast beautifully with the overbearing size of the ruins. A beautiful first look at the journey you're about to experience. Minimalism oftentimes works beautiful. It is gorgeous. It looks like a very strange Escher-like architecture, almost like the buildings on the right are impossible objects. But it looks like an old oil painting. It is super minimal. The way that the characters... It's very clearly depicting that one has a sword and one is pulling the other one, and the other one's sort of thin, even for a stick figure, being pulled along. The windmill makes it seem like it's not all bad. We're not in like just a pure like war place. It's not a castle. It looks like people live there. But the windmill also has a few extra arms on it, which make it a bit odd. And then the little gates up at the top. And that harsh sun beating on the backsides give it that really overexposed bright look. And the dark shadows in the front. It represents the game and doesn't it at all somehow. Yeah, that makes sense. Here's some inspiration. Yeah, it reminds me of that one on the Amiga, made by the rock artist. The rock album artist. And also like that game Horky was playing, where you're in a desert and you're riding along and it's kind of like Breath of the Wild. It does seem like you're on a sort of a different planet, the way there's a lot of yellows and greens. It's really beautiful. Very evocative. Rudy choice, Ihatovo Monogatari. Rudy talked about the game before. The cover actually looks like a proper painting you could hang on the wall. I guess you could say they look very artsy. I'm not a specialist in art, but I've seen this kind of look somewhere before. Yeah, I don't know either. They're sort of, they almost look like they are, you know the way South Park looks like it's made out of paper that's been cut? Very, very flat looking, with a lot of detail, but very two-dimensional. Like Japanese paper puppet theater. Like Paper Mario. There's a lot, I mean, with that guy's top hat and the steam engine and the cello and the suits, it looks like it's, you know, set in a time period maybe before electricity. But then you have a lot of weird elements, like a big elephant in the background that's being obscured. And what looks like space and glowing stars and a anamorphic cat. And some kind of, I don't know what's going on with this guy beside the cat. I like these Japanese covers. I like how they have very strong primary colors as the backgrounds, these big white backgrounds. And they're not obsessed with just putting PlayStation 4 all over it. Looks really good. Very striking. Beautiful. Breath of the Wild. Chosen by Steve. Simply telling you, welcome to the Zelda open world game. I love it because it looks like Link on the plateau. He's got the whole game in front of him. Just like the game, you have a very, very painterly visuals, and it's all about seeing something and going after it. You're going to have a sword and a bow and a shield. And you're going to climb stuff. He's already climbed this little rock here to get a better view. And that's what the whole game is about. Getting a better view. And if you compare it to the original Zelda image here on the top portion, this was what the manual is telling you. You know, the visuals aren't really going to convey a lot of this on the NES. But this is what Link is doing. Although this one makes Link look like he's sort of squatting. Like he's tired. Or overwhelmed. Or he's just short. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have a middle section of his body. But yeah, like Chris says, this is something you're going to be doing many, many times. One of my favorite games of all time. Look at that. I mean, I love the brush detail. It really looks like it was painted. I mean, look at those clouds. Oh, I didn't notice the birds before. Wow. We have a Lena choice. Metal Gear Solid 3. Subsistence, because it has to be slightly different from what you would think it would be. Lenot says, Yoji Shinkawa's art is undoubtedly a staple of gaming. He chose this piece in particular mostly because, to his mind, this piece acts as an incredibly poignant reminder of the moment that basically creates the entire Metal Gear series as we know it. The death of the boss. The red flower also contrasts beautifully with the militaristic green color palette of the image. On a more baseline level, it also shows off Kojima's want to distinguish his work from the basic military shooters the market started to be flooded with. It doesn't show some grand battle or a white dude with a gun. That is a white dude, but he doesn't have a gun. But rather a quiet, peaceful, even somber moment, and the ultimate consequences of war, making you absolutely sure the experience you're getting yourself into isn't just another war game. Yeah, this was definitely coming into the time where a lot of games were just face, close up on face, being really serious, trying to look angry. I really like this guy's style. It's so simple too. It's just, you know what's cool about it is that he is camouflaged with the background, even though he's not trying to be. But he's blending in with the background. It's like super close up where you're not sure what you're looking at. You don't see Solid Snake right there. And yeah, what's with the red flower? Oh my god, Matt, you can't even remember? That happens at the end when they're fighting. It's like the most meaningful moment that you don't get because you don't pay attention. This is chosen by Rudy. Panzer Dragoon, another beautiful Sega Saturn layout. And really similar to that other one we're looking at. This is similar to Eco and similar to, I already forgot the name of it, but the one with the guy who does the rock album. Rudy says, Panzer Dragoon Japanese cover. What can I say? Looks like Mobius art, and that's cool enough for a description. I love this this idea of having sort of, it looks ancient, but it looks like a different civilization, like a different timeline where people combined all the stuff on the planet in a slightly different way. Man, again, that Japanese Sega Saturn or European Sega Saturn, just Sega Saturn art is so bloody good. I love the gold. The gold makes it seem special. And you know, it should be special. These things are not effing cheap. I paid $90 for a bloody game. $90. Makes it seem special. Looks real good. I think it puts more of the focus on the actual art as well. We got a few more to round it out. This is from Steve. Ninja Gaiden II. I see, Steve, you like the simplistic ones. This is more of that trend of not showing you too much of the character. Maybe letting you sort of put your own imagination into it. I do like him being sort of out in this field alone. It looks like the morning after a big battle, the way that you have these swords jammed into the ground. He looks like a walking arsenal. Wearing he's wearing leather to protect himself, but not his arms. Because those are much better defense to see how scary and buff they are. But he's very embarrassed of his pecs, so he wanted to cover those up. Doesn't have... He ripped off his sleeves and made a cool cape out of it. Helps him glide. He looks like he murdered the alien from the Alien movies and made his armor out of that. Just don't hit him in the arms. That's not fair. You're cheating. This one is The Legend of Kyrandia. Fables and Friends, chosen by Rudy. A PC98 cover. Rudy had never heard of this one before, but the box art is really funny, if not off-putting. The clown-looking guy is holding the knives like it's a brass knuckles. Can't say much more. Yeah. His teeth are so jagged. They look like they're going in different directions. His hair is long and greasy. Kind of looks like a Christmas game. The way he's underneath some mistletoe, and there's weird, like, beautiful floral stuff everywhere, and a very soft drawing style. But then the font looks like it's been carved in with that very sharp, thin knife that he has between his fingers, his gnarled, oddly disfigured fingers. Enter a land where magic is real! With an exclamation mark. Not fake magic like those other bullshit games. This is Chris's pick from Warcraft 3, The Reign of Chaos. I like the way that they wrapped around the art around the box so that you get a slice of the image on the side if you're looking in your actual case. Because that's the thing with a lot of the games. I try to have a few select games on my game shelf turned and facing towards me so I can see them. Because you line them all up, but you never actually see it. They're always hidden away, unless they're the top sellers at a game store. He's always looking at you. And they had different cases for whatever your favorite race was. Perhaps you liked... Oh, I'm going to say these guys are probably Dark Elves. More barren. A worse beard. Stringier hair. Down the middle. Dark eyes. Doing a little bit of crack. A lot of that dark magic crack. The Frozen Throne expansion set. You know what I like about the style is that it feels very video gamey. It doesn't look like anime. It's more like colorful and kind of thicker than anime. It's denser. It doesn't look like an animated movie. It doesn't look like a cartoon. It doesn't look realistic, but it kind of looks like a comic book. But to me, it looks like, especially Blizzard style of video game characters, where they're really big and kind of round and comforting looking. We're like, yeah, they're dark elves, and he's creepy, but it's done in a cute way. And here's another one from Chris. Divinity Original Sin. They're very blown out, and it looks like they don't have arms. You can be a man or a woman. Mostly humans. I like that big giant arm he's got, and the no more belts. A lot of belts. This guy got a little bit of blood on his pretty white garment. Grayscale and single color. Oh, yeah, yeah. Really makes the blood pop. It's very serious. Well, that was it. We should probably do this again. We're going to do other shows like your top 20 favorite characters, cutscenes, game trailers, maybe weapons, maybe still images from games or backgrounds. So join the Discord for those. We're still doing the top 20 music on Wednesdays. This was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for contributing. Yeah, character designs. For contributing, for your write-ups, for the music. It was a lot of fun to assemble it all together.